This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A game. A made no rain from the track when we unite and spit. This is an A game, better bring your A game. Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A game. A made no rain from the
But now you and I have not talked about this other situation that happened at Dynamite, and I'm curious to see what your thoughts are on this. So shortly after that, Will Ospreay comes on television and he cuts a promo and he addresses the stupid shit that Triple H said about him. Well, Triple H didn't name him specifically. We all kind of figured.
We all know who he was talking about.
We all kind of figured that's who he was talking about. Did you have an issue with Ospreay kind of answering that on Dynamite last night?
No, I didn't at all. I thought Ospreay's words were awesome. I think anyone who says that's thin-skinned themselves. And like, again, we grew up in the 90s, man. This happened all the time on that. And Triple H, Paul, you know how I feel about Paul Levesque. He's my least favorite human being in professional wrestling. Can't stand him. The reign of terror pushed me away from being a wrestling fan for more than a decade. I do not like him as a performer, never cared for his work, don't like what the game, like, I don't like that he made the WrestleMania main event all about him. Like, that's the most Triple H thing ever. I don't like that he had to feel the need to squash Sting in his only WrestleMania match. Like, he's an egomaniac. And for him, he's clearly bothered that Ospreay didn't go there. So for him to sit there and say that, for him to sit there and say, we want to pay less, we want to pay guys less to work more, and if you're afraid of the grind, we don't want you. I mean, like, if I hear that as a guy who worked as an independent contractor for 20 years, I'm like, kiss my ass, dude. And I would have handled it exactly the way Will Ospreay handled it. I have no problem with how Will Ospreay did it. The problem is that it came after that shitball segment they ran before. If that's all they did was Ospreay out there, because Ospreay has turned into a really good promo. Yeah. And he was being completely sophomoric and a total dick about that, which is what I think would have gotten fans super fired up. But because we had to sit through that masturbatory bullshit in the previous segment that even Tony Schiavone was having flashbacks to Vince Russo sitting there in his seat, dying in front of all of us.
Poor Tony.
Dude. I mean, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with what Will Ospreay said. I like that kind of stuff in pro wrestling. Like, Dave and Brian were on the show going, well, he didn't, Triple H didn't say it on the show. He said it on Pat McAfee.
He said
it. Major show.
He said it to a bigger audience than if he were to say it on Raw.
Thank you.
Now I get that argument. If the two companies were equal, I get that argument. Triple H saying it on like ESPN. He's not really saying it on his show. It's not in the course of his show. Will Ospreay doesn't have access to that platform.
No. And
I think I heard somebody, I can't remember who it was, might have been LaGreca or somebody that's stupid like that, said that, well, why doesn't Will Ospreay just go on to Pat McAfee and answer his critics? And I'm like, he doesn't have access. He doesn't have access to Pat McAfee. He doesn't have access to go on ESPN. Will Ospreay is not that famous, right? Not compared to Triple H, not compared to the top WWE guys. He's a guy that's still out there grinding, still making his name, that's on the come up. So of course you take shots at the leaders. That's what you do. Like Cody Rhodes, like they built AEW based on they were coming for WWE. That's the game, right? They started it. Cody Rhodes used the sledgehammer on the throne, taking shots at Triple H. That's how it works. He did it on the show because guess what? Cody Rhodes doesn't have the ability to, at the time when he was working for AEW, didn't have the ability to go on one of these big podcasts to call them out. But they did constantly on these other smaller podcasts, on the Jericho podcast. They're doing all that stuff. So Will Ospreay, this is his only opportunity at a measurable level to be able to answer Triple H, who clearly called him out. Now, maybe he didn't say him by name, but it was still directed at him. At least that's what everybody thought. So you can't let somebody punk you like that. And I think he's a bigger babyface for it. Unfortunately, like you said, because of what had just happened right before his promo. Everybody's kind of shitting on it, unfortunately. But I found it to be a really good promo, and I thought it was worth it and necessary.
I think if Tony doesn't run on stupid footage, that's probably our lead story tonight. So I'm sorry, but I read this. You know me, I hate revisionist history. One, Alacron says Huckster and Nacho were way with 3 Ys different than this. How? Do you forget do you forget when Vince had a guy calling Ted Turner a lithium addict and then showed an article from the New York Post calling out the AOL Time Warner stuff with Ted Turner's picture saying, right? How is that way different than this?
It's not way different, and it sucked too. By the way,
it was
that was terrible,
and it was bad.
You know what I found? You know what else? I think a more appropriate comparison. I can't remember who said it, but I found the comparison a lot better. It was fake Razor and fake Diesel showing up on Monday Night Raw with heel JR.
That's a great one.
That's what I thought. And guess what? And that was a fart in church. It sucked. It went over. So Tony should have learned from those situations, right? He is a hardcore fan and he knows what he's doing, and he knows those situations well, and he knows how badly they bombed. He should have learned from that. He should have known. The
problem is Tony's turning into Vince a little bit. And I'm not saying he's a rapist. I'm saying that like he is himself. Yes. He is himself very wealthy. And when you've had a modicum of success, you think you know what's best. And it's your company. So all you can do is listen to your advisor telling you this is not a good idea. And I'm going to assume the guys in backstage were trying to talk sense into Tony saying this is not a good idea. You saw the look on Tony Schiavone's face. He knew right away it wasn't a bad idea. But Tony Khan believed in it until he saw it and said, that was terrible. So now you got to live with it. And here's the problem. Here's what bugs me. We talk about Tony Khan leadership issues. You and I have gone off on this a lot. And part of being a leader is sticking your nose out and admitting when you fucked up, admitting when you failed. Tony is not very good at stepping out and saying, hey, man, I made a mistake and owning up to it.
Success has 1,000 fathers, but failure is an orphan, right? Yep. That's that old saying. That's kind of one of those things. You should be like, you know what, guys, I thought this was going to work. And Young Bucks and FTR tried their damnedest, and they did. They did. I felt like the Young Bucks performance. I thought their performance was like they make me hate them. I think that's what they're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. Right? They took chicken shit and tried to turn it into chicken salad or whatever that saying is. Unfortunately, Cash Wheeler probably didn't need to be, talking in that moment. I didn't think he was very good, but Dax then goes on. Dax tried, man. He tried to be super passionate. Did the same old Dax promo we always get. Turns into the fucking Gettysburg Address at some point. He really tried. And then here's the kicker. Here's the real kicker. A couple segments later, they're brawling in the ring with the Young Bucks, and fucking CM Punk chants go off. CM Punk's supposed to be the heel in the situation, and they turned him babyface.
He beat up a freaking heel that nobody likes. And they got the heels telling him, look at this happen. Like, of course they babyface CM Punk again. Right?
Yeah.
It just, oh man, I got New Japan tickets tomorrow in Chicago. I cannot wait to hear what happens when Jack Perry comes out. Could be quite interesting. We'll have my.
He's
gonna
get shit on so bad. It's gonna be great. It's honestly, I think it's gonna be good television. Like I was gonna watch because I'm excited for Moxley and Naito. I was gonna check it out anyway, but now I'm like, okay, now I'm kind of curious as to what happens with Jack Perry in Chicago. Like I'm curious about that.
I will upload it to our shorts because I'm gonna shoot it and I'm gonna be ready. It's content, man. It's content. We're monetized now, so we got to keep feeding the machine.
Yeah, absolutely. And then of course Forbidden Doors coming up in no, that's something different later. Sorry. Yeah, it's something different later. There was All Out is in Hoffman Estates in the Now Arena, right? So
back home.
I got it mixed up. Yeah.
Back home, back close to my house. I grew up 2 miles from that building. So I'm very excited to see that again back home. All you guys that bitch about having to go to the suburbs for that, fuck y'all.
I think Tony Wisely is not going back to the United Center probably anytime soon now that Punk is gone. Yeah. But you know what? Chicago is an AEW town kind of, so they have a deep history there. They started there essentially, so it's like they should go back. But the Now Arena is kind of like synonymous with them, and they can't draw enough to book the big arena, so book the smaller one. It makes sense.
Yeah, and then they'll pack. It'll be great, dude. New Japan's got 6,000 tomorrow. I think 6,000 plus in Wintrust, which is the one that they usually run Dynamite at. Now AEW runs 3 different buildings in Chicago, so
yeah. But Bobby Monsoon in the chat. New Japan, it comes on when is it? Saturday?
Saturday. It's tomorrow night. It's Friday night.
Friday night. Yeah, it comes on tomorrow night. But all right, guys. So I see everybody in the chat. I will get to you. Like I said, if you guys want to interrupt me, that's fine. Just drop a $2 bill, help a brother out, to help support the show. Or if you really want to support the show, head to patreon.com/the Mike and JD show, where all of our premium content, and then you can join us for They Live on Sunday nights. Also, Brace for Impact. You get early and ad free and unedited access to that. And then JD is going to be dropping some stuff here pretty soon too. So